I destroyed the best relationship I ever had on a beach vacation that was supposed to save us. I cheated on a man who loved me with someone who didn't even remember my name 3 days later. I convinced myself I was the victim while I was actually the villain. My name is Patricia, and this is the story of how I sabotaged my own happiness because I confused boredom with incompatibility, and excitement with love. This is my confession. This is what happens when you don't realize what you have until you've already thrown it away. 3 years. That's how long we'd been together when everything fell apart. Me, 26 and restless. Him, 29 and steady as a lighthouse in a storm. His name was Daniel, though I'll probably change it if this ever gets back to him. He was the kind of guy who read books instead of picking fights, who said let's talk about this instead of slamming doors. We rarely fought, which should have been a blessing. But somehow, I turned it into a curse. He had this way of being right about everything that drove me insane. Not in an arrogant way, he never rubbed it in. He just knew things. What restaurant would have bad service? Which friends were talking behind my back? What decisions I'd regret before I made them? Are you sure about that? He'd say, with this gentle concern that made me want to prove him wrong just to feel something. When I snapped at waiters for minor mistakes, he'd give me this look. Not judgmental, just sad. Like he could see me becoming someone he didn't recognize, and it hurt him to watch. I told myself his calmness was boring. That his predictability was suffocating. I needed excitement, spontaneity, passion. At least, that's what I convinced myself. So when he planned this beach trip, 5 days in a town we'd talked about visiting since our first year together, I smiled and thanked him. But inside, I was already looking for an escape route. The trip was supposed to be romantic. He'd saved for months to afford the perfect Airbnb right by the ocean. He researched restaurants, planned activities, bought new records for the vintage player in the rental. And all I could think was, 5 days trapped with someone who makes me feel guilty for wanting more. I didn't realize then that more was just code for anything that lets me avoid dealing with myself. Mark from work. God, even saying his name now makes me cringe with secondhand embarrassment. He was everything Daniel wasn't. Loud where Daniel was quiet. Cocky where Daniel was humble. The type who said your trouble after 5 minutes of conversation and thought it was profound. We'd started talking about 3 months before the trip. Just workplace banter at first. He made fun of my coffee order, some basic insult about pumpkin spice. I shot back that his handwriting looked like a serial killer's practice notes. Harmless. Except it wasn't. Then one night, staying late to finish a presentation, he asked what perfume I wore. Said it had been lingering in his thoughts all day. His exact words. I remember them because I replayed that message about 50 times. When was the last time Daniel noticed my perfume? When was the last time he said anything made him think of me? I conveniently forgot that Daniel told me I was beautiful every morning. That he bought my favorite tea without being asked. That he left notes in my work bag saying you're going to do great today. I forgot all of that because Mark's attention felt like a spotlight, and Daniel's love felt like ambient light, constant but invisible. We started messaging more. Nothing explicit at first. Just complaints about work, jokes about coworkers, the kind of conversations that feel intimate because they're happening at midnight when you should be asleep next to your partner. What are you still doing up? He'd text. Can't sleep, I'd reply, while Daniel snored softly beside me, exhausted from working overtime to pay for our beach trip. The week before we left, Mark sent me a shirtless photo. Getting ready for summer, he said, like it was casual. Like he wasn't testing whether I'd respond. I should have shut it down. Instead, I replied rude with a heart emoji, then immediately deleted the chat history. That should have been my first clue that I knew exactly what I was doing. We arrived at the beach town on a perfect afternoon. The air smelled like lime and sunscreen and salt. The Airbnb was exactly what Daniel promised, charming, cozy, with an outdoor shower and that record player I pretended not to care about. He put on Norah Jones immediately. Started unpacking, humming along, genuinely happy to be there with me. And I felt nothing. Worse than nothing. I felt annoyed that he was so content. I sat on the couch scrolling TikTok while he tried to share his excitement about the week ahead. He asked if I wanted wine. I said whatever without looking up. He poured 2 glasses anyway, brought mine over, kissed the top of my head. Normal people would call that love. I called it suffocating. That first night, he suggested we walk on the beach under the stars. I said I was too tired. He said we could just sit on the porch instead. I said I needed alone time. He didn't fight me. Just nodded and said, of course, take all the time you need. Why couldn't he fight? Why couldn't he get angry, make it easier to justify what I was already planning? The next morning, he went for a run. Left me alone with the sound of waves and my own terrible thoughts. So naturally, I grabbed my phone and messaged Mark. Bored already, I typed. He replied instantly. Should have brought me instead. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the moment to stop. To delete his number, close that door, choose the man who'd spent months planning this trip. Instead, I typed, bet you wouldn't make me listen to jazz and share one pillow. He sent back that golden hour photo. Shirtless in his backyard, abs that Daniel definitely didn't have because Daniel prioritized reading to kids at the library over gym memberships. Beach vibes without the beach, he captioned it. I replied rude with a heart emoji. Then I deleted the entire conversation, just like I'd been doing for months. When Daniel came back, sweaty and smiling, he told me about this beautiful boardwalk he'd discovered on his run. Said I'd love it, that we should go together. Maybe later, I said. He looked disappointed but didn't push. Just accepted my rejection with that patient smile that made me want to scream. Classic Daniel. Always letting me rot in my own silence and calling it respect for my boundaries. Day 2, Daniel booked a kayak tour through the mangroves. He was genuinely excited, told me to wear the yellow bikini he loved. I wore the black one instead. A tiny rebellion that he didn't even acknowledge. You look beautiful, he said, like he always did. I know, I replied. Testing him, waiting for him to call out my attitude. He just smiled. Smiled like he understood I was hurting and loved me anyway. God, why was that worse than if he'd fought back? During the kayak tour, the guide told us to stay close. I deliberately drifted away, just to see what Daniel would do. He gently tugged my boat back into formation. You always run first, don't you? He said quietly. I pretended not to hear him. But those words echoed in my head for the rest of the day. That night, we went to a beach bar. He ordered fish tacos. I got a mojito and spent 20 minutes taking thirst trap photos for my Instagram story. Caption, sandy toes, not sorry. Mark viewed it within 30 seconds. Hearted it immediately. Then messaged, tell me you're not alone. My brain said, don't respond. You're on vacation with your boyfriend who loves you. My fingers typed, not really. I went to the bathroom, took a mirror selfie, pulled my bikini strap down just slightly. Sent it to Mark with wish you were here to fix this tan line. He replied, I'd fix more than that. I bit my lip. Felt that flutter in my stomach that I'd been chasing. Then I deleted the chat again and walked back to Daniel. He held my hand on the walk home. Told me I'd been distant lately. I shrugged. Just tired. He nodded like he believed me. He always believed me. The next morning, he made pancakes. Put berries in mine because 2 years ago, I'd mentioned once that I liked them that way. He remembered. Of course he remembered. I pretended to enjoy them while scrolling through my phone. Mark had sent another message overnight, if you sneak out tonight, I'll make it worth it. My stomach fluttered. My brain buzzed with terrible electricity. Daniel leaned over and kissed my cheek. Love you, he said. Thanks, I replied. Not I love you too. Just thanks. Like he'd complimented my shoes. That night, Daniel said he was tired. Asked if we could just stay in, maybe watch a movie together. I might take a walk, I said. He nodded. Didn't question it. Didn't ask to come with me. Just said, don't stay out too late. Be safe. God. Why was he always like this? Why wouldn't he make it hard to leave? I walked down the street where Mark said he'd be waiting. And he was, parked on the corner in a rental car that probably cost more than Daniel's entire vacation budget. I got in. He smelled like expensive cologne and bad decisions. He drove us to a different beach. Emptier. Darker. The kind of place where you go when you don't want to be seen. Been thinking about this all week, he said, and his hand was on my thigh before I could respond. We didn't talk much after that. Ended up in the back seat with sand still in my shoes, my skirt hiked up, windows fogging. It wasn't love. It wasn't even really desire. It was just static. Noise. Something to feel that wasn't the quiet comfort of being truly known. After, he lit a cigarette and said, "You're not like the others." But he didn't look at me when he said it. Just stared out the window like I was already fading. He dropped me at the corner. Same time tomorrow? I laughed. Maybe. I walked back to the Airbnb in silence. Daniel had left the porch light on for me. My towel was folded on the bathroom counter. His book was open on the couch, chapter 6. He read slowly, savoring every word. He'd told me once, I like stories that build. The payoff is better when you've earned it. The irony wasn't lost on me. I went to bed but couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed. Mark, can't stop thinking about earlier. I didn't reply. The next morning, Daniel was cooking again. Eggs, toast, coffee exactly how I liked it. Sleep okay? He asked. Yeah. He didn't push. Just handed me a plate, like always. We walked to the beach together. He held my hand. The touch felt like an accusation. I hope you're happy, he said suddenly. Why wouldn't I be? He stopped walking. Turned to face me. Because I can feel you slipping. You always look for something more, but you never ask if more is actually better. I wanted to scream. Wanted to defend myself. Wanted to say Mark made me feel alive. But even that would have been a lie. So I just nodded. He smiled. Not smugly. Just sadly. Like someone reading the last page of a book they'd already memorized. I love you, he said. But I can't make you stay. That night, I checked Mark's Instagram story. He was with someone else already. Different girl, same beach, probably the same lines. I wasn't special. I was just available. Daniel didn't say anything, but I could feel him letting go. Not dramatically. Not with accusations. Just, withdrawing. He read with headphones in. Didn't reach for my hand. Didn't ask about my day. And that's when it hit me. Not guilt. Not regret. Just this cold, sharp truth, Daniel was right. About Mark. About me. About how some people don't want love, they want drama with a good soundtrack. But I didn't apologize. Didn't confess. Because admitting he was right meant admitting I was wrong. And I didn't know how to live with that. The day after Mark, I woke up late. Daniel was already gone. He'd left a note, went for a walk. Pancakes in the fridge. I couldn't even be mad at him. But I was furious with myself. I checked my phone. Mark had left me on red. I sent a casual fun night LOL just to see. The message never delivered. He'd blocked me. Used me like sunscreen, applied, enjoyed, discarded. When Daniel came back, he said we needed to talk. My stomach dropped. I tried to play dumb. About what? He looked me dead in the eye. I know. I froze. Know what? I saw your messages. I saw Mark. I know what you did. My fear immediately transformed into anger. You went through my phone? That's a huge invasion of privacy. He shook his head, almost laughing. You cheated on me and you're worried about privacy? You never made me feel wanted. I shot back, deploying every deflection tactic I could think of. He laughed, low, disappointed, defeated. I always knew you'd do this. I just hoped I was wrong. You're not exactly exciting either, I said, cruel now, wanting to hurt him like I was hurting. He didn't respond. Just walked into the bedroom and started packing his bag. The sound of the zipper was like a gunshot. You're really leaving over one mistake? I asked. No, he said calmly. I'm leaving because you made it twice. He knew. Of course he knew. He'd known for months and stayed anyway, hoping I'd choose him. I walked out onto the porch, trying to look unbothered. He came out with his bag and paused. You know what hurts most? I rolled my eyes, waiting for the guilt trip. It's not that you cheated. It's that you made me feel like loving you was stupid. I stared at him. Maybe it was. He nodded slowly. Yeah. But I loved you anyway. Then he walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't slam the door. Just left quietly, the same way he did everything. I texted my best friend Sasha, he left LOL. She replied, men are weak. But it didn't help. For the first time, I felt like the weak one. 3 days later, I was scrolling Instagram. Daniel had updated his profile with a new picture. He was hiking with a girl I'd never seen before. She wasn't stunning, but she was pretty in a natural way. Soft eyes. Real smile. Caption, grateful for new beginnings. She commented, you make peace feel like home. He replied, you are home. I wanted to throw up. I stalked her page like a detective. She baked. She journaled. She had a degree in occupational therapy. One of her posts said, he makes me feel chosen every day. She was the dishwasher-safe version of me. No rough edges. No sharp tongue. Just soft hands and wholesome captions about gratitude. I sent Sasha a screenshot. He downgraded LOL. Men always pick the safe bet when they're tired, she replied. But even that felt hollow. I went back to my own feed. Posted one of my bikini pics from the beach with the caption, his loss. It didn't get as many likes as I expected. The comments were sparse. A few simps as I called them, but mostly silence. I sat alone in my apartment, playing old voice notes from Daniel. One where he said, I want to build something real with you. I'd replied, I'm not a construction site. Back then, I thought I was being clever. Now I just sounded exhausting. It's been 8 months since the beach trip. I'm still single. Still telling people that Daniel couldn't handle a strong woman. That he left because I was too much. It's easier than admitting the truth. I pushed away the one person who actually saw me, all of me, and loved me anyway. I've had 3 first dates since then. All disasters. One guy talked about his ex the whole time. Another asked to split a $40 check down to the penny. The third one liked my Instagram posts from 2019 while we were still at dinner. I keep comparing them to Daniel. None of them remember my coffee order. None of them leave notes in my bag. None of them look at me the way he did, like I was worth the patience. Sometimes I draft texts to him. Apologies I'll never send. You were right messages that die in my notes app. Because apologizing means giving him closure. And if he gets peace, what do I get? So I tell everyone he wasn't good enough. That he was boring. That I needed someone who could keep up with me. I lie to everyone except myself. In the quiet moments, 3 a.m. when I can't sleep, Sunday mornings when I eat breakfast alone, I know the truth. He was good enough. He was more than good enough. He was someone who would have built a life with me, who would have stayed through every storm, who would have loved me on my worst days. And I threw him away for a stranger in a rental car who couldn't even remember my name 3 days later. My therapist asks me what I'm looking for now. I tell her excitement, passion, chemistry. But what I'm really looking for is someone who makes me feel the way Mark did for 30 minutes in a back seat. What I should be looking for is someone who makes me feel the way Daniel did every single day for 3 years. I see his Instagram sometimes. He looks happy. Really happy. The kind of happiness that comes from being with someone who appreciates you. She probably doesn't need him to be more exciting. She probably doesn't compare him to every other man. She probably just loves him for exactly who he is. The way I should have. I'm 27 now. Still single. Still learning. Still trying to figure out why I sabotage anything good. My therapist says I was chasing validation from someone who couldn't give it because I didn't feel worthy of someone who already did. That Daniel's consistent love felt boring because I didn't believe I deserved it. Maybe she's right. Maybe I mistook stability for stagnation. Maybe I confused kindness with weakness. Here's what I know now: good men aren't boring. They're just predictable in the best way. They show up. They remember. They stay. And excitement isn't the same as love. That flutter in your stomach? That's just adrenaline. It fades. What doesn't fade is someone who makes you coffee the way you like it. Someone who leaves the porch light on. Someone who packs berries in your pancakes because you mentioned it once, 2 years ago. If you have someone like that, don't do what I did. Don't mistake their patience for permission. Don't confuse their calm with not caring. Because one day you'll be alone, scrolling through their Instagram, watching them be happy with someone who appreciated what you took for granted. And you'll realize too late that you didn't need more. You just needed to recognize that what you had was already everything. Daniel was right about Mark. He was right about me. He was right that some people would rather have drama than devotion. I just wish I'd realized it before I proved him right. Maybe one day I'll learn to choose peace over chaos. To value consistency over excitement. To see love in the quiet moments instead of always chasing the loud ones. But right now, I'm just the girl who had everything and threw it away for nothing. And I have to live with that. Have you ever sabotaged something good because you thought you deserved better? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, subscribe for more honest conversations about the mistakes we make and the lessons we learn too late.